Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Jedi Master BG. I'm very pleased to have as my guest Wilcox Snellings on Quiz Time episode 6. Hello Wilcox, welcome to Quiz Time.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for giving us your time. I'm really looking forward to going through these positions with you. At the end of the episode, I'm also going to reveal who my guest will be on episode 7. So, dear viewers, if you'd like to see who's next on the list, stay tuned until the end. For you, Wilcox, I've got 11 quiz positions. You might find them easy, but you did ask me to make them a bit challenging for you. So let's see how it goes. Are you ready?
Sure, let's give it a shot.
Okie dokes. So this one is your first position.
Right. So we've got Crawford. So effectively, this is DMP because whether we win 1 or 2 points is unlikely to make much of a difference here. That's one element just to be aware of from the top. So our two choices are hitting and going 13 to 12, or making our 4 point, and two fairly different options here. If we hit and come down, I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but we do get hit back an awful lot. There are fairly few numbers that miss us, and if we're hit, we're in pretty dire shape. Obviously, we could re-enter and hit, of course. It's not that the game is dead. And if we make our 4 point, now we've got a 5 prime, and our opponent needs sixes to escape. Some sixes are part of his ability to hit us inside. And having a prime when your opponent also has some attack blitz chances, but also kind of a prime formation going on over there. Very often when you're being prime, one of the best approaches is to consider creating a prime yourself. It gives you the best chance to have an immediate, fairly quick and thorough turnaround if things go well for you. But on the other hand, in this case, your option of hitting and coming down leaves you with just 2 interboard points versus 4 for the opponent. And as I said, so many numbers are going to hit you. And even if you hit back, you still only have this 2 point board. So it's an interesting problem. I'm going to go with the 4 point in this case. And I mean, the thing to realize in both situations, whatever you do, you're vulnerable. So it's not like hitting makes you less vulnerable. And as I said, you end up with a less of a potent board. So I'm going to go with the 4 point in this case.
Okay. So listening to you, you said about how many numbers hit us and whether we hit, no, not whether we hit, if we don't hit, our opponent's got the full roll to do something on their side. Whereas if we hit, we take away half the roll. So if we are in such a vulnerable position, is it not better to defend by attacking?
I mean, it can be. I'm not saying I know that I'm right. So it certainly can be the case. It's just that we are still getting hit a ton on the comeback. I mean, the half roll option, he only has, if we look at the pointing numbers, he's got, I think it's not 9 pointing numbers on the 3 point, if we're just leaving him alone. And he's got a few other numbers like 4-2, 5-2.
Like for double hitting.
And some switches with double ones and double twos. So maybe he has like 14 or 15, strong numbers in that way. And other numbers that are going to hit us. But any time that we either anchor or hit back, now we've got a 5 prime that he's going to deal with. So,
okay.
I don't know.
Okay. No,
it's a tough problem as promised. So.
I like to play a bit of like devil's advocate, like just to like almost test stress what you're saying. you know.
Sure, and I'm sure your problems are going to be difficult, and I'm not going to be surprised if I get a good portion of them wrong. I've got no ego invested. I'm just trying to do the best I can.
No, that's the best way to be. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's reveal. All right, so yeah, it, um, it does like the hitting play.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, I can understand it. Yeah, I think, let me just, I'm trying to look at some of these numbers here.
Sure.
Okay, it really doesn't change anything. All right. Well, I'm off to a slow start, but that's fine.
Yeah, you can always bring it back. So what do you take from the XG feed? Do you think that XG thinks it's good to like tempo hit?
Yeah, I think, the way you described it is just more weighting to the fact that, yeah, they're just too many numbers. I mean, if red's back blot, is on one of the lower points, yeah, I feel pretty. I'm back to still saying that I think the 4 point is right, but because he's got air into, direct air into the outfield with that checker, on one of the next few rolls. The prime is still good, but it's much stronger if he's not on the edge, or
Yeah.
not seeing air. So
Okay. All right.
all
Let's
right.
go on to position two. So it might look a bit familiar for you, but there's a slight difference.
Right. Okay. Well, actually, this is what I was just referring to. So I may be wrong again, but now I'm definitely going to make I'm definitely going to make the 4 point, because that's my closing argument, is that, his not being on the edge, he has far more work to do. The amount of escape work is about, I don't know, close to 5 rolls for the back checker to get out, and he has to try to contain us without us anchoring or hitting back as well.
Okay. So because this checker is back, you're very confident this time.
Yeah.
And you are bang correct.
Okay. One and one, but this one was helped out by the fact that, well, sort of helped out by the fact that I got the first one wrong, but the difference in him having greater access to the outfield was clearly relevant.
When I put these two positions in, I thought it was good to put them both in because it shows how the exact position determines which play you have to go with to match that position. So here, because your opponent's close to daylight, we have to hit. Here, because the opponent's deeper, our 5 prime becomes much more stronger.
That's right. I still, instead of, modern backgammon players, if they keep positions at all, they stash them on the computer in different files, and I still have the old fashioned index cards, and I've thrown a lot of them away. But to the extent that I have them, one of my not codes, but EM stands for everything matters. So that, you change things, as you have in this example, by something that seems relatively small, but in fact is quite decisive, and that can swing the equity, 0.2 or more.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful game that way, where it's very subtle, but if you can understand what's going on that contributes to that, instead of just throwing your hands up and saying, well, backgammon's pretty arbitrary. You move something a pip, and now it's completely different. So, but it, there's logic behind it. You just have to find it.
Yeah, exactly. And this way, it's more about how we think about the problem than the actual answer. The answer becomes almost irrelevant. It's about understanding the thought process.
Sure.
Okay, position 3. So the match scores changed as well now.
Okay, let's see. I'm blocking the score with what I can see of my face. I don't know how I get rid of that on the bottom
Can
right.
you try like minimize the video screen that you've got?
Okay, let's see. Yep. Okay, good. No, that didn't help. I'm still there.
Oh.
How do I move my face? Oh, okay. I clicked on it, moved away. Good. All right. So now, okay, so the cube is still in the middle, right? All right. And if we, let's see, if we don't hit, we are up a pip minus a few pips of wastage, only single men on our 5 and 4 points. We're down nearly a crossover, so that we would be, we're clearly an underdog if we don't hit. By how much is the question? Could we be we're more than 60% of a dog? Let's see, that's 2, that's 3. Yeah, if I have to guess, maybe we're like 35% to win this position at that point. So if we hit, if he fans, we cash. So that's 16 wins. The problem, of course, if we get hit, then we can be gammon for the match. So of those 16 hits, this is just not going to belabor this pencil and pad taking too long. But of those 16 hits, how often, we never win because he has access to the cube. It's almost no chance we can win. And if he hits us with a 5 and not a 4, we probably don't get gammon. So it's the time at the 11 fours, 3 of them immediately hit 2. On the 11 fours, let's say he wins 4 gammons. And on the remaining 9 5s, we get gammon not even twice, I don't think. So that's 6 gammons and 16 times. Yeah, I think I would hit. I mean, it's not fun if you lose the match by getting hit back, but well, let me just think that one more time. Let me just go through this one more time. Okay, the 20 hits we had on the 11 fours, I gave him 4 gammons, and I gave him 2 gammons on the 5s. So 6 times we lose the match. The other 14 times when he hits, the score is tied. So we win 7 of those, and of the 16 times he misses, we win. We win, and we can't play on. So again, we win half of those matches. So we win 15 matches, as opposed to 15 matches, which is like 40. Where are we here? Like 42%. And if we had gone past, we win this game like 35% of the time, which only, in most cases, only gets us to 1-all. Sometimes we double them in, but let's say 35% we win half. It's 17, and 65% of the time we win a third, which is 22. So we've got 22 plus 17 is 39. Okay, so I'm guessing that we hit. I mean, again, it's, trying to talk this through aloud versus keeping it in my head is slightly different. But
okay, so if I'm honest with you, I don't really understand all the numbers that you were going through. I don't think of it like that. If I asked you to summarize briefly why you've decided to hit, are you able to just do a short summary?
Yeah, well, I mean, it began with the simple part was that if we don't hit, despite the fact that the race is close, we're technically down a pip. I think we're down a fair amount more than that. So I think we're a pretty big underdog, maybe not quite a 2-to-1 underdog, but a pretty significant underdog. And if we hit and we know we aren't getting gammon by getting hit back, it's 100% that we should hit, right? Because we're only getting hit 54% of the time, right? Or whatever it is. I mean, it's not that often compared, and so our winning chances are like 46 instead of being 35. So it's the gammons that make this, this question closer, but I don't think we get gammon enough for that to take away the hit as being the correct play.
Okay.
That's as simple as I can make it. But
Okay. All right. Let's see what the answer is. So you bang on. It's massive if you do not hit.
okay, all right. This is definitely, yeah, this is definitely bigger than I thought. But at least we got the right play.
Yeah, yeah. It's like running, we've got no chance. Hitting, we've got some chance. So some
Well, okay,
chance.
it's not nothing. It's less than I thought. Like I thought we might win 35% of the time. It turns out we win closer to 31% of the time by not hitting. We obviously, as I said, if it weren't for the gammons, it was a no-brainer. But getting gammon just 13% of the time isn't too bad, all things considered. Okay,
Okay. All right.
okay. So now we change it. Let's see. First of all, we've also changed the score um, so that we don't want to get gammoned. And let's see. And now he's got some wastage as well. So we're up 3 pips minus a couple of pips for waste extra guys on the deuce, and we're behind a little bit as far as the crossover situation again. But the race is actually, it's better than it was in the first circumstance, and now the gammons are are much worse against us. So we're at least somewhat worse against us, and we won't be able to redouble. So I'm not hitting this time.
Okay. So this time we do the running play. 23-17 and then 17-12. Okay.
Okay, very close. Turns out it's still right to hit, but extremely close. So it's nothing really to say. Anything. I mean, to me, I know many of the not just pinning some of the Japanese players, but I know many of them are really are tough on themselves. So anything at like point 2.02, and they're not freaking out, but they're just really super focused into what's going on here. For myself, the more difficult the position is, the more rare it is, and the more refined the subtleties are. If I get something really almost up to 0.05, I'm okay. I can live with it. I'm not going to beat myself up. I might learn a little something. I might not. That's just a share. And then beyond that, my cube threshold, unless it's a bear off or something, really known as far as the equities go, I'm okay up to about 0.08 for some positions, and certainly 0.06 for many others. I'm just giving you my personal criteria for errors.
So can I ask you, why do you think XG still prefers the play that's got nearly 10% gammons against us?
Well, you're winning 6.5% more games, which is enormous in and of itself, and you go out efficiently. I mean, if you don't get gammon here, you're just going to win the match, perfectly as is. And in the race, you're still losing the race because the other guy's on roll, and you've got, again, this. It's not good having singletons on the 5 and 4 point as far as bearing off, because you bear off one of those before you've cleared the 6, and you've got these gaps, and you may have wastage, or may simply miss an important roll by having a gap on one of those
Okay, so
points.
if I had taken 2 checkers off the 1 and 2 point and put them on the 3, and then moved the extra checker on the 6 to the 4, the pip count would have been pretty similar, but this
Right.
time the singletons are higher than lower. So that would change it somewhat in itself then, right?
Yeah, somewhat. I have to. I mean, I hear you. To have to see it and then sort of think about it in terms of how I would break down the net effects. But yeah, I think that would improve. Yeah, certainly taking a guy back from the 1 to the 3 is essentially meaningless, because the spare on the 3 can keep you from having an ultimate gap if you get a little unlucky on the 3 point, and you already have one spare on the 1, so it's unlikely to be a swing there unless you roll a double ones late or something. But the extra man on the 4 is very important.
Okay, no, that's a good point. Yes, that you might clear the 5 or 4 before you finished with the 6, and then that will be a miss for you. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, sorry if I'm a little long-winded on some of these.
No. Please don't apologize. Please, I appreciate the extra level of detail that you go into.
Well, sometimes it's just extra words. But I
So
try.
this is a cube decision, and this match score has changed. We are now 5 away, 4 away.
Okay. So the race is basically even. We both got one man back. We certainly, I wonder, why would we be redoubling here? Why would we be redoubling? I mean, certainly we're trailing in the match. You're looking for opportunities to redouble, but by redoubling, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a position where you're too worried. Sometimes these redoubles are because your opponent, when he wins, is going to win a gammon quite often, and so you're getting rid of his.
You're killing his gammons.
You're killing his gammons, but here I don't see. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know what percent of the time red ends up winning a gammon here, but because you've moved a lot of your pips and your offense is very strong, you only have one man back, the gammon threat isn't that significant in my opinion. And while if we just act like this is a money position, I wouldn't think of doubling at all. You have some market losers for sure. You point on him, he fans, you roll, I don't know, like 4-2, and he rolls, make the 9-pointer, and he rolls a blank. You lose your market maybe by a little bit, but I don't think there are enough, if this were a money situation. But this redouble here.
In this match, at this score, you're saying no redouble.
Yeah, I'm going to go for no redouble.
So if it's a no redouble, then it's a take, right?
Correct. Okay. Yeah, you're not. I mean, you could have a no redouble in positions where you're too good, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Okay, let's have a look.
Oh, okay. So it is a redouble.
Yeah, and it's actually a 0.132 punishment for not redoubling here.
Yeah, that's even past my threshold for error. So yeah, so that's a clear error.
I personally, I think that white's in such a strong position that we want to win maximum points from here. And
yeah, well, he's in a stronger position than I estimated. So I mean, if that was your perception going in, you're correct. I have nothing to say on that score, but I would have thought this position was closer than that.
Okay, because once we redouble, we're effectively playing for the match because the opponent is 4 away.
Right. Yeah, I just would have figured that. Yeah, the winning chances were in the like mid 50s somewhere. I wouldn't have guessed as high as 61%.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, and we do win, right? And we do win some. I mean, that's obviously that's an important point. I was correct in the sense that the opponent wasn't going to win that many gammons, but the fact that we have both, prime and attack value right now, we do have some plausible, not huge, but definitely some plausible gammon chances. So that's the key in my misanalysis. Except that we're still winning more games than I thought. So okay. Good, thank you.
Another cube decision.
All right.
2 away, 3 away against us.
Right. So we're just on the basis of the, let's see, the race and the wastage. So let's say we lose 4 pips for the extra spares on the ace point, and close to a pip for the current gap on the 5 point. So that would put us down 3 pips. All right, but we've got 15 numbers that hit. He can't recube anyhow. There's no cube value for him if we double. So the double is clear. I mean, you figure 15 games. I mean, he's entitled to still get lucky from the roof, but maybe he wins 2.5 games out of the 15 hits. And if we come up short, so we have 5 numbers, double ones, 2, 1, 3, 1, that come up short. And on those 5, we're now a pretty big dog. Maybe we win 1.5 of those. So we win 1.5 of those 5. And on the 15 hits, we won 13, 12.5. So we're at 16 wins out of those 20 games. Is that, I want to make sure that that's my actual math. Let's see. No, we have 15 hits, we won 12.5. And of those 5, we only won 1.5. Okay. So we're winning 14 out of those 20. And the remaining numbers, the remaining 16, the game is pretty close to even. Maybe we win 9. So we're winning 23 games. And yeah, so I don't think we're a 2-to-1 favorite. And so his question here, this is like a 30% situation. I guess it's double pass.
Okay.
Let me just make sure again. So, he's going to win. That's not right. So I have him winning like 34, 35%. No, he has a take, but we definitely have a double.
Okay, so double take. So let's just discuss a little bit before we bring up the answer. If we double and the opponent takes and we miss, even if we go to safety afterwards, we're a bit of a dog in the race. Is it not too risky? So because we're only 3 away, even if we win this, then it's 2 away, 2 away, we can just cube. Do we have to risk our match outcome on whether we hit or not? Because we won't win the match with the hit, but we'll lose the match with the miss.
Well, okay. Let's just plug in the numbers, because I've played 30 hours of backgammon in the last 5 months at this point. So I'll just plug in the numbers. Okay, let's just say that we win 2/3 of the time in this game. All right, we've doubled. We win 2/3 of the time. So 2/3 of the time, we win the match 70% of the time, right? So that's let's see, like 46% of the time we're going to win the match, and right. So that's it. Is that right? 70% of the time we get to win it.
Because we go to Crawford, and when we're at Crawford, we are 70% favorites for the match.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm going through this correctly. So 70% of the time we win it 2/3 of the time. Okay, so that's like 46% of the time. If we don't double, then we win this game slightly more. Let's just say that we win this game 70% of the time if we don't double. So 70% of the time we're 50-50 in the match, which is 35%. And 30% of the time, of course, he may double and we may have to pass. There are other complications here. But so 30% of the time we win the match a third of the time, which is 10%. So we win the match like 45% of the time. According to those numbers, right? Obviously, look at XG's authoritative answer, but we win the match 45% of the time if we don't double, and I had us winning like 46% of the time if we do double. So let's just see what the actual answer is.
Okay. All right. Let's have a look. You were correct. Double take.
Okay. Even a blind squirrel.
I was just thinking about this whilst you were going through your decision and your calculations. And I might even pass here as red because I'm looking at the score. I'm thinking 5-5 is the same like 5-6. Well, sorry, I mean I wouldn't pass because 5-5 is the same as 5-6 for all intents.
Right. Yeah, that would have been inconsistent with what you said before because you weren't so sure it was a double.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
If white goes to 6 or
You're
5,
off the hook. It's like
yeah. So, yeah, I definitely look at the win percentage though. It's 36. So,
yeah.
definitely above the 25% when we look at what happens with the doubles. Okay, good.
All right.
So DMP, no cube to worry about now.
Okay. And we have double twos. Is this so we hit on the 9 and we switch 5 to 3?
Okay.
I mean, let's see. So okay. Let me just before you do it. So our other choice is just to go 7 to 3 and hit on the 9 point. And this is better. Why? I mean, it just seems like we don't need a closeout. I mean, I understand we're a huge favorite either way, but yeah, I don't see why we would do that. All right, I'm switching.
Okay. So you're locking this in, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
That's my vote. For better or for worse?
For better.
Okay.
Look what I played. Highlighted in blue.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to hit to stop the opponent anchoring, but I didn't want to leave it there in case my opponent rolled a 3. So,
but it seems like it happened that you had a blind spot and didn't see the switch. Is that right?
That is exactly it.
Yeah. Okay. You're off the hook again. You just didn't see it. That's fine.
I thought to myself afterwards when I was revising, I was like, how do you fix blind spots? So what I've done since this game, I've been looking for any excuse to switch. even when I know it's probably not the right thing to do, I've been doing it just because I want to get in that habit of looking for it.
Okay. Right. Well, I mean, it's, your only opportunity to actually make a play is to see the possibility. But, I mean, it's just important to, I mean, it's like I said, like everything matters. If your opponent is, pathetically weak in their home board and, getting hit, maybe just increase your gammons or something, then you could just hit loose and come down, I suppose. It's conceivable, I think, to set up something where hitting loose would be right. But the picking and passing when he's got 2 on the roof, just wouldn't be appropriate. And I know that you get that now. So your question is though, how do you go from not seeing a particular type of thing to obsessing and imagining that it's always correct? And
just so that you get in the practice of looking for it.
And especially with this happens with small doubles. Most of these switching plays are double ones or double twos. And, you have to just take it case by case, build up maybe a small inventory that you save in your computer file and compare situations and see what the specifics are. And very often it has to do with what your opponent's structure is, as far as whether it's going to matter very much if he anchors or hits you back.
And in this example, the winning percentage is still fantastically good. White's in a very strong position. So it wasn't a match where me not switching cost me, but it gave me an opportunity to learn.
that's always a good thing. If we can learn from our mistakes in life as well as backgammon, we're further ahead than many people.
Exactly. So that's why I brought this in, not necessarily to test you, but to talk
Yeah,
about how do you try to fix blind spots. So that's my idea. When I thought, okay, I'm just going to try and switch a lot so that it's something that's more in my mind
sure.
than
Well,
not.
I'll tell you one thing. On average, there are definitely faster players than me, but I tend to play somewhat fast. A lot of it is because I feel like I feel sure I've seen it. It's just familiar. It doesn't mean I've seen it like having a photographic memory. It's just that I can cut through the questions and go straight to the logic or the imperatives of what is called for. But there are other times where that speed or that confidence level can cost me, and I'm not the only player that plays fast that can have it bite you at times. And so, one thing, if you're on the computer and you're playing, kind of let go of the mouse or whatever your control is. If you're playing live, let go of the cup, and just like try to let go and try to actually see as clearly as you can. And if you have time and it's an important decision, literally test out some of the plays. Now, there's some players that are always physically testing things out, and others that you can see the board well enough that you think you don't have to test it. And I can tell you from personal experience, I've come to learn, whether it's from age or it's always been that way with me, that the more I physically test things out, the more I can feel my way through the logic and sort of I can see something that I don't necessarily see just through my mind's eye.
Yeah,
That's all. That's what
yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Okay. When I play, I'm a little bit more of a visualizationist, but when I do have some tough choices, that's when I'm likely to shuffle on the board, just to try give me that extra bit of help to decide what I want to play. So yes,
Yeah, yeah. I find in the way my mind seems to operate, moving the pieces often reminds me of something, reminds me of a priority, or reminds me of why something doesn't look right. And when it doesn't look right, it's usually not right. But you just the distance between the mind's eye and physically seeing it is a real distinction. It depends on the person, but it's real to some degree, no matter what.
yeah. So this one's a 9 pointer and 7 away, 5 away in our favor.
Okay, so our options are playing small and going 24 to 20, or breaking the 11 by hitting and then going 11 to 8. So these are our two plays. We've already doubled. Yeah, the playing small. So if we play 24 to 20, he's got a lot of numbers that hit us loose, and then some other good numbers. So that's between the aces, the eights, and the tens. That's 20 numbers that are going to hit us on that point. In addition to a few numbers like, let's see, not many, 4-2, double 4-2 that makes the corner point on the 14. And also because we've got the man on the, he doesn't have to play. He's just going to bring a man around, then we might be hitting anyhow. And gammons, gammons are good. I'm going to go ahead and hit. I'm breaking the 11 and hitting.
Okay.
I think we clearly win more gammons. There's, it's not like this game is won by any means with either play. So, and now we've got more builders for both the bar point and the essential 4-point.
So
Yeah.
you're not worried about the ace point liability?
Well, it's not like we're such a huge favorite anyhow. We've given up the cube. We've got a gap on our 4-point. He's trailing in the match, so he's going to anyhow have some cube leverage here.
But,
we may as well win more gammons if things go trend well for us.
But Wilcox, we're 25 pips up. So doesn't that lead towards more of the racing play, which is 24 to 20, than the conflict play of hitting?
Yeah, but it's still getting back to the 20 numbers that are going to hit you on the on the 5-point, dominated by the roll of double fours or even double fives, because now he makes the 18-point and hits you loose. Yeah, I think there's still enough action in the outfield to be concerned about that. I'd rather play for crushing him.
Okay.
Because if we get hit on the ace point, I mean, it's still like a ways. He's got a dilly builder on his 3-point. He has no man in quadrant 2, which is his 7 through 12 points. So he doesn't have very many men in the zone. He's got a fair amount of work to do to really turn the game around. Granted, if he rolls an ace and he owns the cue and he's trailing in the match, he's probably now some kind of a favorite. Not arguing against that, but I just don't think we're such a big favorite as is by just limping along to the 20-point. So that's my play. We'll see.
Okay, let's see. You're correct.
Okay.
11-8, 11-10. That's the correct.
All right. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. I mean, it's right by some amount. I'm not gonna glorify by the .06 successes and then say that the .06 failures don't mean much. It's I got it right. That's okay.
What I see from this is the wins are very similar. It's the extra gammons you get from hitting that make it more worthwhile. About 5% more gammon wins.
Right. Okay.
So I think that's where the differentiator is for the two plays.
Yep.
So this is our third last one, and it's further on in the same game.
Okay. Well, this seems pretty clear. We want to come in on the ace and play 11-6.
Okay.
Yeah. This is. I mean, maybe the most. I think it's the most clear of the ones you've given me. Simply because we don't want to be in the line of fire on the very point he wants to make. And also, not only that, but I mean, coming on the 20, then we have to play 11-10 and free up, another. Granted, those are indirect shots, but they're not insignificant in the flow of the game coming up, because we're not going to be able to use those builders because we're under attack right now.
Okay. All right. Let's have a look. Very clear.
Yeah. I don't get any special credit for this one.
Well, it's better than the 300 blunder I played.
Okay. Well, I mean, your play, some of these plays, you can say, well, you're getting some duplication, but you're actually adding, some twos. I guess a lot of his twos would hit, but I don't know, 3-2 and 5-2 in particular weren't going to be hitters. There are many times where your position is so strong that you just I'll just come in high because I've got a prime, and what is he going to do? He's got a parlay making the point and escaping and all this, but you've got your gaps, you've got a man on your ace point, and
sometimes also you might just be in a weird mindset in the game. So this game is a continuation from here. I tried to run. This one, I've tried to run. There's obviously just something in me that just was trying to run the whole time. And making...
Right. Well, there may be the consistent element. You're thinking, I'm up in the race, just race. And that's, it's not always the case, especially if you just have one man back. You can afford to be a little bit patient. Yeah. And it's in that same thing where the very point your opponent wants to make next, of course, is his 5-point, which can be just devastating to you. Because he doesn't have to even escape his back men. He gets to recube you in many of those situations.
And you'd have to probably pass then, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Can you hear a noise in the background?
Yeah, I
yeah, it's not. I'm not simultaneously talking to and mowing the yard. But let me see if I can block out something here. It is our yard, and I didn't know that they were coming today. Let's see. All right. I could tell him in Spanish that I'm doing a backgammon interview, but I don't really think he'd understand.
I can still hear you clearly. It's just a bit of background noise. So let's just carry on.
Okay. Let me see here. Okay. Is that a little better?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
So
All right.
this is the same match, Wilcox, a bit further on, and we've got
Okay.
a double one this time.
All right. So we could come in on the 23 and move two men from the 5 to the 4 point. That's
Okay,
one
like a
play.
switching play.
Yeah, just to play defense. And the other, and I don't know if, let's see, there might be more than one option. So we could come in on the 24 and go 7 to 4, which duplicates fives and gives us a stronger board. Let's think about this. Certainly very different looks. Let's see, come in at 23 and do that. We're giving up the cube. Interesting. Yeah, this is one where I would feel like I would benefit slightly from actually just seeing the plays instead of.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to visualize it for today.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Let's see. 23 and starts out. I mean, one of the problems with coming in at 23 point and moving two men from the 5 to the 4 is that we still have to bring this game home. I mean, I only think bad things happen quickly if our opponent's like slightly lucky, but in the scenarios where we sort of survive and sneak out, we still have to bear in these guys with a gap on the 5 point, a dead man on the ace, a weird spare on the 4. And so if we make the immediate short-term gamble scenario where we come to the 24 and make the 4 point, then he's not going to redouble. I mean, he is looking for an opportunity to redouble. I don't think he's supposed to redouble that. And if he doesn't roll a 5, so what do we get hit with if he doesn't roll 5 somewhere? Double ones, 2-1. Well, 4-1 is a different 5. So that's 5, 6-1, 7. All twos that were not 5-2. That's 16 numbers. He could switch with double 4s to 17 numbers. It's a lot of hits. I mean, we pretty much, if he rolls a direct 5, we've lost. He may even have a play on for gammon in some scenarios. That's not so good. So if we make the small play, and he is going to hit us almost all the time, but what happens if he has points on us? He rolls 6-4 or something, points on us, we fan. I don't think he's supposed to redouble that. That's just very complicated for sure. Trying to just let him roll 5.
I don't think we can go to the 23 point because remember a few positions ago you said.
Oh, but you shouldn't give me a hint. You're just I know I should come up with an answer, but I mean you did. I mean I would prefer not to having a hint because we can always.
I'm not giving you a hint. I'm
sort of.
Oh, we are discussing though, right?
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, but you've already gone through this and know the answer. So no, that's fine. I'm just saying the fact that you said that is already like a clue. All right.
No. Remember here, was it this one or this one? You said you can't come on the 20 point because that's the point your opponent wants to make. So I think this is similar. The opponent wants to make the 2 point next. So it doesn't make sense to me to come here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the position. I see what you're saying as far as an aspect of similarity. I would say there's a little bit more going on here, since by staying back on the 24 and making the 4 point, assuming that's your other play, you're now freeing up another blot, right? So there is a dynamic here wasn't that wasn't part of the previous situation.
Okay.
So in any
everything
event,
matters.
I think to be honest, I believe that I was moving toward 24 and making the 4-point.
Okay.
And it seems like you don't get hit as often, which is really important. And even if you do get hit, if you re-enter, you might be able to re-enter and still have a 4-point board in a very strong position. So okay.
So you were about to change to bar 24 and 7-4.
Yeah, I believe this was my play, but I will admit to being slightly influenced and hurried up by the fact that you felt like we shouldn't come into the 23. That's all. No, and you meant it in a good spirit. I understand, but I'm just saying it was an influence.
Okay. Sorry, I was just seeing the similarities.
Yeah.
I think you're still wrong though.
All right, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let's see. I didn't think of. You see, this is the case of not looking at the other option. So what my play was making 7-4, which is not on the list. It's a pretty bad play. All right. Well, good. I mean, bad but good. Bad but good.
Yours is off the chart.
It's off the chart. We don't even want to run it. We'll just head for the exits. Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at other possibilities, and this, let's see. So the difference between switching is right that you in the switch you had to come in on the 23 in order to do it. I get that. All right, this is not one of my more fond quizzes, but I'd rather do it in public and then have more people want to play me. No, it's not like I'm in my 20s anymore, so I don't get any benefit for that. But that's good. Yeah, I didn't look at the. I would if I was looking at it, I would have said it, but I didn't.
XG just wants to maintain the structure between the 3 and 8, which is effectively a 6 prime.
Yeah, well, I did too, right? I mean, that was in my second choice, not in my top. No, wait, not in my top choice, but in the other one I was immediately looking at was the switching 5-4. It was still keeping that continuity, but the difference is you're not under the gun on the 23 points. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Last quiz.
All right. Sure.
It's all your fault. You asked for a complex one.
No, yes, I did, and I'm happy to take it on. And if I fumble, I'm happy to do another quiz next year.
So same game, a bit further on, double 3.
I can also blame it on the gardeners. I get that one because it started.
Yeah, that's quite distracting, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's see. We can. What are our options? So we can make the 2-point. We can make the 4-point and hit loose on the 2-point. So if we make the 2-point, it's got 13 numbers there, and 4 5s, 15 numbers. And anyhow, if he rolls a 4, we have a lot of work to do. Yeah, but we can't play with these extra blots in the score. I mean, it's a very dicey score as far as getting recued. And what is the small play here is making, now I'm like taking my time. You've taught me, I've learned something. Let's see, so we make the 4, we go 8-5 and 6-3. And now he's sitting us loose on 19 numbers and switching on a few more. And the 5s are duplicated to hit and escape. Yeah, I'm going to make the small play here. I'm just going to make the 4, go 8-5 and 6-3.
Okay. So 7, 4, 2, 8-5 and 6-3. Final answer?
Yeah, that's still that's my answer.
Okay.
Let's see. Yay! All right. And the stop clock is right twice a day. Oh,
Well done. Very good. I went
yeah.
for the hit
It,
myself.
okay. Yeah, I mean, you're really up against the score. Like, I don't know what's right, like, for money. Um, I'm pretty sure for money you're supposed to play aggressive, but the score dictates caution. Doesn't mean you
That's
always
it.
make the small play, but it dictates caution.
Yeah,
Well,
because 8-2 loses a lot more gammons, and at this score, we don't want to lose a lot of gammons. So
right.
yeah,
Yeah, I will say, I like this feature where I'm not on video. Now, voice comparisons could be made by the CIA people out there. I guess AI could do a voice comparison and pretty much figure out that it's me. But I could also say this was Wilcox that you were interviewing this time. And Wilcox is not as sharp. He spent a lot of his life just sort of traveling around. He's kind of a bohemian guy. I mean, he's fairly smart, but he never worked a day in his life. And he doesn't. It's. I really care about Wilcox, but I enjoy my life.
that's good. Well, I'm glad Wilbox was on duty today. He was fine.
It was more interesting. No, these were some good positions, and yeah, I mean, I think I should play more than 30 hours of backgammon every 5 months. It might help a shade, but backgammon is great this way because the top players can get sometimes get 9 out of 10 or all 10 right, and sometimes they have off days, and it's good, because some people are thinking, oh, he's like the black box of Mochi or whomever, and amazing player, and there's several that are just awesome, but they have off days, off hours, off matches, and keep that in mind for those that think that the gods are perfect.
Yeah. I love the fact that my guests who I've had on, they're not too precious about reputation. They're just coming on to have a bit of fun. It's not about, oh, I'm scared I might not get the question right. It's just let's have a bit of fun and talk backgammon. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I'd say, and what's good is you have a very good way about you. It's a good energy, and yeah, I think one feels more free to make mistakes and figure out why.
Oh yeah, like I've a lot of those moves were moves I made, and I've included them to with all my errors there because
Yeah,
that's how you learn. So it's about, oh, look what I did wrong, and this is how you can like avoid it yourself, sort of thing. You know.
right. I have it just kind of not quite in closing maybe, but I'm big on, players want to know, how to get better, and especially they're not a beginner. Let's say they're like a weak intermediate, but they do, they've got time on their hands, and either by age or circumstances they have the possibility of improving. And certainly reading books, watching videos, listening to recorded matches that are being analyzed by people that almost all the people that are doing those are sharp players, but some of them articulate things in a way that you respond to. That's all great. But then if you're just studying your own plays, try to stick to central themes. You could become an expert in the race and improve your PR by, 0.2 or something, something relatively small. But if you study, like opening, not just opening roles, but I mean opening situations, blitz questions, a little bit of prime versus prime, but any things that are coming up, and notice the errors that you're making in positions which you think are fairly generic, that they come, this type of position comes up and up. So you don't have to know the answer to each one of them, but try to figure out if you're hitting too much, you're hitting too little. If you're doubling too soon, you're doubling too late. Those types of themes in fairly, as I said, common positions. To start to understand, one thing to understand is your own nature. It
Yeah.
may be that in
Your
life
tendencies, your
your
tendencies.
your tendency. What's interesting though, you would think it's one way, but it's not always. You would think an aggressive person is always like doubling too soon and taking too late. But sometimes, sometimes the quiet person that doesn't really get to express themselves that much in their regular life is very dynamic and very aggressive over the backgammon board. So yes, it goes back to the Socrates said, "Know thyself" is sort of a first principle in life, and in dealing with other people, etc. And I'd say that's true for backgammon as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at Oliver who just won in Los Angeles, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you meet him off the board, you wouldn't really associate aggressiveness with him. But in his last match, I think the cube got up to 8 or something, you know? So there was some big action going on, but it made sense in the context of the game they were playing.
Yeah, well, Ollie's great. I'm very fond of Ollie, and he's like a baby-faced assassin.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, how often do you see an 8 cube in a final? I don't think you see them that often because people are a bit more reserved because it's the final.
Yeah, although eight cubes just don't come along that often to begin with. I know what you're saying. People are a little bit tight in finals. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, this has been very enjoyable. I wish you luck with your series, and I'll be
Thank you.
happy to
Thank
do
you
this
for
again
yeah,
next
thank
year.
you. Thank you for making the time to come on and do this with me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And
Just to finish this, happy holidays to you and your family and friends.
thank you. Likewise, same to you, Wilcox.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye. So, dear viewer, it's now the end of the episode, and it's time to look at my next guest in episode 7. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Episode 7 of Quiz Time will be with backgammon expert Jeff Hall. I hope you've enjoyed watching this episode with Wilcox, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Take care. Goodbye.